Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Hari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai 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 Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana 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 Jana Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jai Gopi Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana Dana Yashodanandana Vraj Janaranjana जन जमुना तीरा वनचार जमुना तीरा वनचार जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुपादाचार्य असोसिएशन श्रीमद ऐसी भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री श्री राधा वल्लभ की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा देवी की जय गौर प्रेमानंदी all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Guru and Gauranga Om Jnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmiltam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swayam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapada Kamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadbhutam Sadvaitam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sa Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripa Sindhueva Cha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadamyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaur Tuse Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we're going to read from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Verse 8. Jai Shri Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lokashaplayasya me Lokashapalayasya me Swasanti vivashavase Swasanti vivashavase Dvija iva sachibaddaha Dvija iva sicha vaddaha Dvija iva sicha vaddaha Sakala iha karmanam Sakala iha karmanam Lokaha shapalaha yashyame Sav shantihi vivashe Dvija ivasi chaha vaddaha Sakala iha karmanam. Prabhus. Loka shapalayashme Subhasanti vivashvase Dvija ivasi cha vaddaha Sakala iha kalanam. Loka shapalayashme Shanti vivashvase Dvija ivasi cha vaddaha Sakala iha karanam. Tejis. Loka sapalayashme Savasanti vivashavase Dvija ivasi cha baddaha Sakala iha karanam. Loka shapalayashme Swasanti vivashavase Dvija ivasi cha baddaha Sakala iha karanam. Loka, the worlds. So palaha, with the chief deity or controllers. Yasha, of whom, ime, all these, swasanti, live, pivasha, fully dependent, vase, under the control, dvija, birds, iva, like, shisha, by the net, baddha, bound, sha, debt, kala, time factor, iha, in that, karanam, the cause. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, all living beings in all the planets of the universe, including the presiding deity of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They walk like birds caught in a net, who cannot move independently. So we're gonna read this together. All living beings in all the planets of this universe, including the presiding deities of all the planets, are fully under the control of the Lord. They walk like birds caught in a net, who cannot move independently. Prabhupada Bhasila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. The difference between the Suras and the Asuras is that the Suras know that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Asuras cannot understand the Supreme Will of the Lord. In this fight, Vritrasura is actually the Sura, whereas Indra is the Asura. Very strong statement, eh? Somebody who has taken birth in a body of a demon is a Sura, and Indra, who is the king of the heaven, in this verse is classified as Asura. So how do you know where you fall into, So if you understand that, nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Lord. In other words, whatever is happening in our life, whatever is happening all around, Krishna is in complete control. If you understand that, then you are a Sura. Then you are a devotee. If you don't understand that the supreme will of Lord is everywhere, then you are an Asura. So this is a very strong statement, So we have to understand this. Actually, if you understand this verse, then all your anxieties goes away now. All the problems of your life goes away. Because if you understand that Krishna is in complete control, then why do you stress, You know He's going to look after everything. He is either controlling directly through Himself or indirectly through the demigods. Even the demigods who are directly under His control, who have been assigned to do stuff, they are completely dependent on Him. And we are completely dependent on the demigods. Even blinking the eye, there's a demigod who is in charge of it. Without the sun god, we can't see. Because without light, we can't see. And the light comes from sun god. All the nourishments that we get from fruits and vegetables, where does that come from? The moon. So whatever we are eating, whatever we are doing, whatever we can see, it is all controlled by the demigods. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the sun and the moon are His eyes. So this is how. So if Krishna sees, we can see. If Krishna doesn't see, we cannot see. So you have to understand this. If Krishna sees, then we can see. If Krishna does not see, we cannot see. We are totally dependent on Him. No one can act independently. Rather, everyone acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can act independently. So if you are thinking that we are in this material world and we can do whatever we want, unless Krishna sanctions it, it cannot happen, Every day if we look at our life, we analyze it, how much control we have of our life. There's so many factors, there's so many things that determines where we are, what we do. Nobody wants to go to work, but we have to go to work. So many people would love to be in this temple room now. How many of them are there? So this is a fact that no one can act independently. Everyone is dependent on Krishna. Therefore, victory and defeat comes according to the result of one karma, and the judgment is given by the Supreme Lord. Karmana deva netrena. So, whatever we do in our life, the result is completely dependent on Krishna. Whether we get whatever result we want, or something else comes our way. Whatever happens is completely dependent on Krishna. The karma we do, right? We have done so many karmas. Prabdha karma is there's a pile of karma in the seed form is waiting. And every time we get a new body, a set of karma comes with us that we actually experience in that lifetime. But there's a pile, mountain of like karma waiting somewhere. What karma we go through, it's again given by Krishna. What we experience in this life, who are our parents, will be our wife, our husband, that is all dependent on our karma. Again, Krishna is in control of it. Because that karma can be destroyed by Krishna in any moment. And how can it be destroyed? When we do devotional service, when we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just by chanting this mantra, all your karma has been destroyed. This is how powerful Krishna's name is. Krishna's name, the name Krishna on itself is so powerful that doesn't matter how much karma you have done. it destroys the whole thing. But don't think that I can do more mischief and then I can chant, then it becomes an offense. No. So just by chanting this mantra, you are purified, But the problem is that we continue to actually go and commit offenses. It's just like an elephant, who takes a bath and then goes out. What does it do? Then puts the dirt all on itself. Right? So we are doing the same thing. You must have heard of that pastime. Who was that? Was it Acharya who actually fed the fish in the water? Or one of those, I think. So he was taking prasadam and all his disciples were there. And then after eating, he threw whatever was on the plate in the water. And the fish that ate immediately took 400 form and went to the Vaikuntha Dham, Then all the disciples were saying, we have been taking your prasadam for so long, and we haven't, how come we didn't get the same result? The result is that those fish, they took it without any offense. While we are always thinking, calculating, Just like when you take prasadam, you give prasadam to somebody who doesn't know it's prasadam. Is that devotional service or it is pious activity? It's pious activity because that's the security that builds up and comes to a point where there's enough. And at that time, Krishna arranges for you to meet a pure devotee. And then you actually make a spiritual progress from there. Since we act under the control of the Supreme according to our own karma, no one is independent from Brahma down to the insignificant end. So Brahma, who is the controller of the universe, is also dependent on Krishna. Whether we are defeated or victorious, the Supreme Lord is always victorious because everyone acts under His direction. So victory, all this is dependent on us, right? Krishna is always victorious. So you have to understand that. Now if you want to be always victorious, then you be with Krishna. You dovetail your activities with Krishna's activity, you become part of His movement, you become part of, be Krishna conscious, and you'll always be victorious, just like Krishna is victorious. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 29, it is said, Preksha kriyamana manani gunha karmani sarvasyaha anakaraha vimuddha atmaha kartaham iti manyate. Translation: the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So now we go to the next level. How does Krishna actually take care of all these things? In the spiritual world, our nature is what? Sach, Chit, Anand. And this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. That Sach, Chit, Anand becomes ignorance, passion, and goodness. So that's the same reflection. Such means that we are eternally in the spiritual world. Here we are in ignorance, we think we are the body. Knowledge basically means to understand that we are Krishna's servant. We are supposed to serve Krishna. But here we think we have to save ourselves. And Anand, blissful activities, and that's the equivalent to mode of goodness here. What is the false ego? What is the cause of? This is the first thing. When you come into the material world, the first transformation is the false ego. What is the false ego? What does false ego mean? False identity that we are this body. That's the biggest problem. So the day you understand that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul, then you are way back home, back to Godhead. As long as you associate yourself with this body, you'll always have the same problem. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, walking on the same level, may appear to be walking the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective position. So two people doing the same thing. And we see every day, two people are cooking, A devotee is cooking and a non-devotee is cooking. They're cooking the same stuff, right? But there is a difference. What is the difference? One is cooking for Krishna and the other one is cooking for themselves. One is doing karma, the other one is doing bhakti. That is the difference. When you do karma, then you get the result for it because you are doing it for yourself. Even we can understand this on a level here, Now, let's say you go for book distribution, right? Whatever books you sell on that particular day, right? As a devotee, do you keep any of that money with you? Where does the money go? To the temple, right? Now one day you do $5,000 worth of book sale. Do you get to keep any of those? The other day you did only $100. Does it really matter? The temple president might get on your case, but apart from that, it doesn't really matter because the result goes to them. But now if you're doing your own business, right? If you made $5,000, who gets the benefit? And if you do $100, who gets the benefit? So when you do something for yourself, then you get the result of it. But if you're working for somebody else, then there is no result for it. So if you do everything for Krishna, you stop doing karma and you start doing devotional service. So this is how simple it is to understand. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. Because we think we are this body, And whatever we do, we are the master of it. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So everything happens under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Because who owns the material nature? Where does it actually come from? It comes from the Brahman, right? Maha Tattva. Where does that come from? It's the effulgence of Krishna. It is the qualities of Krishna. So everything comes from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything should be used in Krishna's service. But when you try to use it for yourself, then it becomes a problem. You can get the same result. You can still get to eat nice food if you cook it for Krishna, same as if you're gonna cook it for yourself and eat it. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptoms of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and stable body is a creation of material nature under the word of the Supreme Personality of God, and such his body and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. So everything belongs to Krishna, the body, the physical body as well as the stable body. Ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of God is known as Rishikesh, the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. We have been here in this material world for so long, and that's why it's very hard to give up this bodily consciousness, that we are man, woman, human being, Australian, Indian, white, black, all these things, Because we have been associating, we have been thinking that we are this body for so long that we don't want to give that up. It's very hard to give that up. But if you have knowledge, then slowly you can start getting rid of this misconception. The embodied soul in Bhagavad Gita 5:14, master of the city of his body, does not create activity, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. So he doesn't do anything if you really look at it. If you understand this, we are the master of this city. This body is like a city. We do not create activities. Nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So whatever is happening in this material world is happening by the modes of nature. It's taken care by Maya Devi. In the spiritual world, who takes care of it? Yog Maya. So in the material world is Mahamaya, in the spiritual world is Yog Maya. These are two energies of Krishna, the internal energy and the external energy. Right? If you are not a devotee, you are controlled by Mahamaya. If you are a devotee of Krishna, you are controlled by Yog Maya. The place does not really matter. If you are in the material world and you are doing devotional service, you are under the direct supervision of Yog Maya. The living entity is one of the energies or nature of the Supreme Lord. So there are three kinds of energies, right? The internal energy, external energy, and the marginal energy. Marginal energy are us, the living entities. Why are we marginal energy, Tataksha Shakti? Because we can come both under the control of Yogmaya and Mahamaya. So we can be under control of either of that. If you want to stay separate from Krishna, you come under the control of Mahamaya. If you want to stay with Krishna, you come under the control of Yogmaya. Somehow the superior nature, the living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. That's why we say we are Nitya-Baddha. Nitya-Baddha means eternally in this material world. Why? Because we don't know how long we have been here. If you look at the time factor, Brahma's 100 life, which is trillions of years according to our time, is Mahavishnu's one breath. And every time Mahavishnu breathes out, all these universes are created. And when he breathes in, everything goes inside. And we go also inside there. And as he sleeps, we also sleep. And then when he creates again, when he breathes out, all the universes are created and we come back into this being again. And this has been happening again and again and again. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtained is the cause of variety of activities and their resultant reactions. So this body is the cause of all the activities and resultant reactions. Which basically means if we think we are the body, then we get all these activities and the results. But if we think we are servant of Krishna, then we don't have to worry about it. Living in such a conditional atmosphere, one suffers the result of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. So the ignorance is that we are this body. This is the first thing. That the false ego, that we think that we are this body. So you have to get above that. You have to meditate on this thing. You have to understand that we are not this body. Just like you were in a little child, you look at that little kids here, Then you look at the mother, which is an older, and then you look at somebody older person. Same thing we have been into there. The body has been changing, but we are the same person. Which basically means we are not this body. And then we see so many people die. What happens to them? Right? They move in, get another body. So we have to understand this. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that it is a causes of bodily suffering and distress. So the idea is we have to get to this knowledge so that we can actually try to understand this and get out of this material world. As soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, he becomes free from the reactions as well. So same thing as I was saying. If you can understand we are not this body, if you can understand then we are the spirit soul, and then you know that everything that is happening is done by Krishna under the direction of the three modes of material nature. You as a soul are not directly in control of it. You are in a car, you are a passenger. What is happening with the car is nothing to you. The driver is the three modes of material nature. You are just sitting in there. Same thing here. We are just in this body, in the soul, in the heart, as a soul, with Krishna there, and we are just passengers. If you understand this bit, Whatever is happening, try to relate it to Krishna and then keep moving forward. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it. We think we are the master of body because we are in this body. But actually he is neither its proprietor nor controller of its action and reaction. He is simply in the midst of a material ocean, struggling for existence. This is what is. We are in, the waves of the ocean are tossing him and he has no control over them. So we are just like in an ocean and there's big waves and everything and we have no control over it. This is our true situation. Otherwise, nobody would get sick, nobody would get old, right? If we are in control, but we have no control over this. We get sick, we get old, so many material distress comes, your loved ones leave you. The enemy is there, people try to steal from you, the government keeps trying to take more money from you. This place is miserable, just like you are in an ocean. So the best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. So what is the main thing? To get out of this material world. And how do you do that? You have to be Krishna consciousness. That is the only thing that can save you. Now you have to understand this. How fortunate we are. Not only to get a human body. There are 8.4 million different types of bodies. Of that, 8 million are mostly animals and lower levels, who do not have understanding of, who can't even understand they are not this body. Now as human beings, you are able to do that. Even then you see there's so many humans, people who live in the forest, they have no idea about this, they don't have this knowledge. So very few of them get an opportunity to do that. In Madhya Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 19, verse 151, this is a common verse you might have heard. Brahmanda brahmite kona bhagwan jiva, Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bij. So, we have been in the Brahmand. I'll read the translation. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary system and some are going down into the lower planetary system. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of kripa of devotional service. So this is when you know that, okay, you are well on the path of getting out of this material world. After going up and down for millions of lifetime, millions of Brahma's lifetime, right? When a devotee, when a person gets an opportunity to meet a bona fide spiritual master by mercy of Krishna, then the spiritual master, it says, Bhakti Lata Bij. What does that mean? Does the spiritual master give you devotion, seed of devotion, or the seed is already there? Does the spiritual master plant the seed, give you the seed, or the seed is already there? Seed is already there. Now some people think that the spiritual master gives the seed. That's the Sahajya Bhav. This is where the people say, okay, I can become whatever I want. No, the seed is already there. So then what does the spiritual master do? He waters the seed by actually guiding you how to do devotional service. When the spiritual master says, chant 16 rounds every day, that is the watering process. Right? So the seed is already there, the spiritual master waters it, and this Bhakti Lata, which is the kripa of devotional service, what happens to it? When you speak of Brahman, you refer to the whole universe or to the cluster of many millions of universes. In all the universes there are innumerable planets and there are innumerable living entities upon those planets. in the air, on land, and in the water. There are millions and trillions of living entities everywhere, and they are engaged by Maya in suffering and enjoying the result of their effective activities, life after life. This is the position of a materially conditioned living entity. So, as I explained, same thing, millions and trillions of universes full of living entities, right? Out of many of these living entities, one who is actually fortunate, Bhagyavan, comes in contact with the bonfire spiritual master by Krishna's mercy. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart. And if one desires something, Krishna fulfills one's desire. So if whatever we desire, Krishna fulfills it. Just like a mother fulfills the desire of the children. Right? Sometimes if it might not be the right thing to do, the kids want this, and the parents know it is not good, but they still give it to them. If the living entity by chance or fortune comes in contact with the Krishna conscious movement and wishes to associate with that movement, Krishna, who is situated in everyone's heart, gives him the chance to meet a bonfire spiritual master. If you have other desires, Krishna might not fulfill it straight away. But if you have a desire to actually get out of this material world, be Krishna conscious, Krishna actually fulfills that. This is called Guru Krishna Prasad. Krishna is prepared to bestow his mercy upon all living entities. And as soon as a living entity desires for the Lord's mercy, the Lord immediately gives him the opportunity to meet a bonfire spiritual master. Such a person is fortified by both Krishna and the spiritual master. He is helped from within by Krishna and from without by the spiritual master. Both are prepared to help the sincere living being become free from the material bondage. So Krishna helps as a Paramatma from inside and as a spiritual master from outside. How one can become this fortunate can be seen in the life of Sri Narad Muni. So in Narad Muni, in his previous life, he was a son of a maidservant, right? In his previous lives, he was born of a maidservant. Although he was not born in a prestigious position, his mother was fortunately engaged in rendering service to the Vaishnavas. So this is the trick we can learn from this. How we can be fortunate, just like Narad Muni, what did his mother do? He was serving the Vaishnavas. When these Vaishnavas are resting during the Chaturmas period, so there's 4 months, I think it's starting later in this month, 4 months of fasting. In India, this is the rainy season, so this is when the sadhus can't travel, so they stay in one place, and because they are not doing austerity, they fast from different items at that time. Because when it's raining, what is the first thing that grows? Nice, fresh vegetables, right? So everybody wants to eat this because in the summer there is not much of that. So that's the first month, that's what they fast from, leafy green vegetables. We don't have that issue here, right? Taking compassion upon the boy, the Vaishnavas offered him the remnants of their food. By serving those Vaishnavas and obeying their order, the boy became the object of their sympathy. And by the Vaishnavas' unknown mercy, he gradually became a pure devotee. In the next life, he was Narad Muni, the most exalted of Vaishnavas and the most important Guru and the Acharya of the Vaishnavas. So this is how powerful Sadhu Sangha is. Of all the things, Sadhu Sangha is most important. Of the 9 process of bhakti, if we can get association of sadhus, the other ones will automatically follow. Because you're going to listen from them. So you're going to, Samaran will be doing right. They're going to tell you to chant. So you're going to chant with them because they're doing kirtan and like that, And the more you hear the pastime of the Lord, you're going to think about, and everything else going to automatically follow from there. So this is how important Sadhu Sangha is. So we should not actually waste our life running after things that are not important, because this life is very, very important. And especially you are already in the movement. You are already part of it. So we should take maximum opportunity actually to make progress. Following in the footsteps of Narad Muni, this Krishna conscious movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. This movement, as we spoke about Narad Muni, So this is called Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya. So this line falls from Brahma. The knowledge was given to Narad Muni, to Vyas Muni, like that. Madhva-Acharya came in, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in. And later on, Srila Prabhupada, who is our Founder-Acharya of this movement. So we are in the same parampara as Narad Muni. If one is fortunate, he becomes immediately related to this movement. Then by grace of Krishna, one's life becomes successful. Everyone has a dormant Krishna bhakti. As I was saying, it's already there, it's dormant. Love of Krishna, and in the association of good devotees, that love is revealed, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Dormant devotional service to Krishna is within everyone. Simply by associating devotees, hearing their good instruction and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, dormant love of Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasade Bhakti Lata Bij. So it says three things. We already have that love. How do we take that out? Simply by associating with devotees. So that's the first thing. Associate with devotees. What does association of devotees mean? It doesn't mean you go and sit down with them and do prajalpa, talk about nonsense. Associating with devotees means when you see a devotee, you ask questions. You ask instructions from them. Otherwise, there is no point. A lot of people go to the dham and they just go from one place to another place, That's not the purpose of the dham. The purpose of the dham is to go there and take instructions from those who know about that place. Then you make more. You get an opportunity to save them. You save the Vaishnavas and you take instructions from them. That is the purpose of it. What is the next thing? Chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hearing the good instructions. So how can you hear unless you don't ask them? Or if they're giving class, you go and attend those classes. Those are the important thing. You just don't go one place to another place just by a dandvat and go, Don't be like a shop, going to a shopping from one shop to another shop, Go and spend some time, associate with the devotees, ask instruction from them, listen from them, and chant Hare Krishna mantra. Now Prabhupada has given us all of that. Every morning we do this. You come to the temple, you get association of the devotees. There is Bhagavatam class going on, you get to listen to the instruction. And then, during the whole process, we chant the Maha Mantra somewhere around there. So, just by associating this movement, this Hare Krishna movement, everything is already there. We don't have to go and find anything anywhere else. Prabhupada has given us everything just by attending these programs as much as you can. Okay? Any questions? Any comments? Yes. According to what I read and what Prabhupada has put in his purport, he said getting instructions from the... So once you get the instructions, what does the devotees tell you? Chant Hare Krishna, right? And save the devotees. So if you listen to them, then, and you do whatever they're given you, it'll come to the same thing, saving the devotees. Now the other story was, you look at Narad Muni, what did he do? He was saving, right? So any of these things is very powerful, right? The main thing is that by the sympathy, according to this, by the sympathy of the devotees, Narad Muni got that message. So somehow or the other, if, just like when Srila Prabhupada was here, all of his disciples, they were trying to do some things that they can catch Prabhupada's eye, Other they were jumping so high, when they're doing kirtan and things like that, so that Prabhupada can just look at them once, And if Prabhupada, in a pure devotee, looks at somebody and gives an instruction, come to the class, listen to the Bhagavatam, My own example, for example, I'll give you, I have mentioned this many times, but I'll tell you, it doesn't, just to illustrate this point. When I wanted second initiation, my Guru Maharaj said, why do you want to take second initiation? What will be your service, And I was thinking, I've never thought about it. I just wanted second initiation, Maybe come and do arti once in a while. And then I said, Gurudev, I want to cook, And I wasn't a cook, I used to help Matajis, empty the prasadam after everything, wash the pots and things like that. And he said, okay, And from that time, I never left the kitchen, This is 23 years, So he saw something, empowered me to do, I still don't know how to cook, honestly speaking. I cook the same thing but somehow or the other, I think people like it, That somehow or the other Krishna makes it all right. And every time I come here, I pray to Prabhupada and Radharani before I go to cook so that they can use me in the way, they know what is best, how to serve Krishna. I don't know Krishna, I don't know who Krishna is. I know who Prabhupada is. I know who my Guru Maharaj is. So praying to them gives me this. So same thing, if you go to a devotee, they give you instruction. With that instruction comes the empowerment. All you have to surrender, So you should not ask a sadhu what to do unless you are prepared to do whatever they are going to tell. This is also very important, Now if they tell you to do something, then you do it. And if you do it, there will be full success. Was it Yamuna-Acharya? Madhva, no, Yamuna. I think what happened was, once, I think he was a little boy, and this Pandit, he used to go and challenge everybody. Was it Yamuna-Acharya? He got married, I think so, right? So he used to go and challenge everybody. And he says, okay, you defeat me. If you lose, then you give me, in return a certificate that I have defeated you, and you have to pay me tax. So he went to Yamuna-Acharya's spiritual master, and his spiritual master was a pure devotee. He said, what's the point, This guy just wants fame. He said, don't worry, I take defeat. He signed it up and give it to him, And Yamuna-Acharya did not like this. He said, how can my guru be defeated, So he went and challenged this Pandit, And this Pandit was the Pandit for the king. So little boy comes and goes into the Raj Sabha and, the palace, and he says that, I want to challenge him. And he asked 3 questions. Let me see if I can remember these 3 questions. If he said, if he can defeat the 3 questions, right? If he can answer my 3 questions, I'll take defeat. If he can't, then I'm victorious. And the queen was there. This little boy was very beautiful, handsome boy, and the queen says, okay, what will be the reward if you win, And the king was saying, oh, this is my Pandit, This is my, he's so knowledgeable, how can he be defeated, But I like this boy's confidence, He said, okay, I'll give you half of the kingdom. Right? So little boy asked 3 questions. One of the questions was, prove that your mother is not a barren woman. That means she does not have a kid. Barren means a woman who can't bear kids, right? So you have to prove that she's a barren woman. That means this Pandit is saying, how can you say that, I am born of her, how can I prove that my mother doesn't have any kids? So he loses, So he says, okay, you prove it, So he says, according to the scriptures, if a mother has only one son, she's considered a barren woman. So according to the scriptures, if you have only one son, you are just like a barren woman, right? And then he says, okay, I lose in that. What's the next question? And he says, okay, prove that the king is the most pious person. So you have to prove it that he's the most impious person, right? Contradict it, right? So you have to actually defeat him in argument. And he's saying, the Pandit's thing, how can I prove? He's my king, How can I tell he's impious, What is he trying to do? Cause more problem for me. So he said, okay, you prove it, He said, according to the scriptures, the king is the representative, the king takes 10% of the karma of the whole state. Did you know that? The temple president also takes 10% of the karma, the good and the bad, of the devotion that is happening here, And in that way, they said, because there's so many people who are doing so many sinful things, then the king cannot be the most pious person. Does that make sense? So the next point got defeated. I said, okay, what's the third one? The third one was, prove that the queen is the most unchaste person. Now, how can you prove that? She's sitting there, How can you say the queen is unchaste? And this guy says, man, this is what he's trying to do. Have my neck chopped off or what, And the king is laughing, the queen is laughing, the queen is thinking, okay, how do you prove that, So he said, okay, you prove that. I take defeat in that. He said, according to the scriptures, the king is the representative of all the demigods. So if he's the representative of all the demigods, that means the queen is associating with all the demigods as well. So how can she be chaste? So in this way, he was completely defeated. Right? And this is little boy, he became the king because he was given half the kingdom. And because it was under the instruction of the spiritual master, right? He continued ruling. He did love, had kids and everything. He was having big fun, But when the time came, then the spiritual master said it is time to get him back. But he was so much engrossed in there. So he sent one of his disciples. He said, go and look after him. And these are his favorite food. This is what he used to like when he was in the ashram. Make it for him, So when he gave there, I started serving him those special dishes. Then he started thinking about that childhood pastime. Then he realized, what am I doing here, So he gave everything and came back, So the point is that because if it is instructed by the spiritual master, then even if you do something that might not look like devotional service, but you are always protected because that's the instructions, Just like Prahlad Maharaj, when he was growing up, Narad Muni said, don't get married, But Brahma said, get married. Narad Muni is saying, he's the spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj. He was the one instructed. He says, don't get married, Why do you need to get entangled in all these things like this, Why don't you go and preach? But Brahma said, no, we need a king. We need somebody to carry the dynasty. And because of that, Bali Maharaj came, like that. So when somebody actually gives the instruction, a spiritual master gives the instruction, just follow the instruction. Don't ask too many questions, If he says, chant 16 rounds, chant 16 rounds, You want to chant more rounds, then go and ask him, Take his instruction, You want to go to the dham, take instruction from him. If he's not there, take instruction from some devotee. And then do it. Then your trip becomes successful. That is the point. Tick. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu. Prabhupada books are very important, especially Prabhupada's purport, because that's, as Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada said to him that is the ecstasy. Prabhupada used to write these books early in the mornings, starting at 1 o'clock in the morning and mostly 1 to 5 o'clock, 1 to 6 o'clock, that's when he was writing. And this is after the midnight Ras Leela. And Prabhupada used to be there, because he was directly in contact with Krishna. And also Prabhupada said something is that he used to read his own books. And many times devotees asked, Prabhupada, why are you reading your own book? And Prabhupada said, I did not write these books. I just took dictation from Krishna. So he said, I even learned from reading these books. And in the books, you might be thinking, okay, it's only Prabhupada, just like we are reading about this part here. Brittasur is a pure devotee, right? We are taking his association too because we are thinking about him, right? Parikshit Maharaj is there, Sukdev Goswami is there, Narad Muni and all the people are in there. So we're getting also their association. So you can read that, and if you meditate it that in that way, that you are getting association from all of them, then it's... But at the same time, you need physical, because they can teach you. See, this one is, when you read the books, you can have certain understanding. You might not understand it correctly. But when you are in association of devotees, they can correct you. Prabhu, don't do this, It's like today I saw somebody was chanting while we were doing kirtan, I had never seen him before, so I didn't want to actually disturb him. But when we are doing kirtan, then we should do kirtan. When you're doing sankirtan, that's what we should be doing. Because Harinam Acharya, who is Harinam Acharya? Haridas Thakur. What did he said? That when you chant loudly, it is worth 100 times more than you doing japa. So you chant when everybody is chanting and you chant together with them. That's almost equal to doing one whole mala. Isn't it right? One mala is 108 beats, right? And here, by just chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if we chant together, it's almost equivalent to doing one mala. So why should you do your own japa, which is on your own help, with your own effort, then to actually associate together and chant, where the benefit is much more. So these are the things that can be corrected by devotees. Then you can learn from that. But both is important, because Prabhupada is a pure devotee. So whatever he is written is pure. Our problem is that we are not qualified, we don't have the ability to understand his knowledge, otherwise that's sufficient. But then when you meet with devotees, you have to know what caliber of devotees you are associating with and whom you are taking instruction from. So it's very important to find somebody pure who is more senior, who can guide you in that way. Okay? We finish here? Any other comments, any other questions? Karantra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shishigau Nitai ki jai, Radha Ballabha ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
Thank you for class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.